Hey there, and welcome back to Legend of the GLORIO Heroes, your premier source for the hottest takes on the legendary 1988 science fiction OVA. Speaking of hot takes, it is hot here in our little corner of the galaxy where we are recording.
Man, it's only getting hotter.
Yes. So if this podcast ends up being a little short, that's only because of our desperate desire to avoid heat stroke. On the other hand, it's such an interesting trio of episodes that, who can really say? As always, I'm your host, Gee, and with me, as always, is my reliable co-host, Iro.
Yep, I'm still here. 76 or 78 episodes into the show. I'm still here.
Yes, I thought you were going to say degrees. I was like, no, it is much higher than that.
Maybe 76 centigrade.
Yeah, it's these are the sacrifices we make for our lovely listeners. We can't have the AC or the fans running in the background would get in the way of our dulcet tones and our clearly god tier audio production values. So with all that taken care of, we should just get rolling right into it.
Yeah,
so,
we're in episode 76, Eve of the Festival. We open up with Mecklinger, good old Admiral Mecklinger.
Yes.
Before he leaves Odin, he's having dinner with his coworkers, Kessler and Valen.
Yes, they're kind of just having a nice little dinner party, little get together, kind of talking shop.
Kessler's admiring this bizarre piece of art with a skeleton man with Texas on his shirt, holding a thing.
It's an odd painting to say the least. But Mecklinger informs us all that sadly it is not the original was destroyed, and this is merely a reproduction.
Right.
That many pieces of priceless art were destroyed during the Lipstadt to do.
But he saved quite a lot of the originals.
Yes.
But soon he will tire of regular art and start collecting the war records of Kaiser Reinhard and the magician Yang Wen Li.
The most delicious piece of art of all.
The human being.
Yes, the human condition. This is kind of an interesting conversation because it's basically all three of them kind of admitting their mutual admiration for Yang Wen Li, in that way that rivals often do. They're talking about that Yang Wen Li, that magician, the only man in the galaxy who can rival our glorious leader in tactical and strategic prowess. Mecklinger points out that Yang has done the unthinkable in over 100 years. He has completely upended the status quo of Iserlohn. That prior to Yang Wen Li, Iserlohn was not a tactical piece on the board. Iserlohn was a constant.
Yeah.
The idea was the sun rises, the sun falls, grass grows, birds flies, and Iserlohn has never fallen. That was just to the point where
unstoppable bulkhead of the the empire,
just an assumed piece of the an assumed piece of furniture in the landscape of FPA and empire politics, and that Yang is the one who turned Iserlohn into this fucking revolving door of occupations.
A ball that's passed back and forth between the teams.
Yes. And they also talk about how Mecklinger points out that we're actually leaving Odin surprisingly unguarded.
Yeah, Kessler is going to be the only admiral remaining in Imperial space, basically.
Yes,
formerly Imperial space.
Yes, they at least pay lip service to the idea that Yang could break past Mecklinger and make a beeline for Odin. Maybe try to kidnap Anna Rose and use her for a leverage. And I think that the admirals eventually arrive at the conclusion that Yang might not do that, but the reality remains that somebody could.
Right. Which is important because Kaiser Reinhard still is not sired an heir in any way.
Yes, leaving Anna Rose technically next in line.
Yeah.
kind of continuing the plot line of everybody in the Empire being like, man, Reinhard really needs to get laid. Like,
Indeed.
like everybody is kind of just waiting on bated breath for him to finally show an interest in girls. But, without Quirky Eyes there to kind of guide him along the way, who can say?
Yeah.
But they also talk about some internal Empire politics. They speak of one Karl Black, who is noted to be a little bit of a problem because he's a civilian, kind of a civilian sector bureaucrat or politician.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been complaining about Reinhardt's excessive spending on the military.
Yeah. It's just more war. More people dying in war, and less money going towards, public works and administration purposes.
Right. And without knowing the man himself, it's hard to say how much of this is genuine or how much of this is political rhetoric, but it does bring up a good point that there are at least voices people are beginning to voice their concerns about Reinhardt's warmongering. Reinhardt's warmongering remains very popular because he keeps winning. But it still costs, huge amounts of manpower, huge amounts of money. I mean, we saw this with the FPA. We saw this with the FPA's inevitable collapse. They kept, conscripting young, talented individuals into the military where they were unable to contribute their skills to the civilian and civic sector. And how, sure, this might not seem like a big deal immediately because civil engineers working on sewer pipes doesn't necessarily affect the war effort, but it does have a long-term effect. I mean, in many ways, how much do we want to assume that an event that happens later in this show on Heinessen is in fact maybe because of the FPA's shoddy civic workmanship, because of how drained their civic sector was, right?
Right.
And so, it's a pretty minor point they bring up here. I don't, mean to harp on it too much, but I do think it is interesting that, again, Reinhardt keeps winning, so it's not this is some kind of indication of oh, there's growing resentment against the Empire, but it is an example of people beginning to say, hey, you're starting to fight a lot of wars that I'm not even sure are necessary, and maybe this money could be better spent. There's at least that idea is beginning to be propagated amongst the Empire.
And they bring up the possibility that whether or not Black Eye's concerns are founded, it's possible he is an agent of someone else to
indeed
sow discord, such as perhaps the Earth Cult, the Terraists.
Yes.
And Valen notes that if they were out for blood, he'd probably be pretty high on the list after bombing their HQ.
Yes. Valen kind of brings up the good point of he was already their target once. I'm sure they're certainly willing to try again.
And Kessler decides to excuse himself because he still has to deal with Job Truniht.
Yes, unfortunately for all of us.
Bring that name back up. It's been a while.
Job Truniht still exists. He has not been, fucking permanently imprisoned for life or executed for crimes against humanity. That man has been allowed to subsist, like a parasite on the blood of the Empire. But,
yeah. And so we head to Heinessen.
Yes.
Where, Reinhard has rung his Emil bell, and Emil's helping him get to bed.
Yes. And they also state that Reinhard has, at this point specifically, has not actually come to a decision on Reuenthal yet. He is still debating what to do with Reuenthal. But that quickly changes because all of a sudden there is an explosion outside of Reinhard's, I guess, his where he's staying on Heinessen.
And he insists that he change of pajamas before fleeing.
Yes,
otherwise Reinhard, too silly.
Yes, Reinhard insists it would look silly if the Kaiser were seen to be fleeing the palace in pajamas. So,
and he gives his robe to Emil.
Yes, it's very silly, but it is also a very Reinhard thing to do. But yes,
they get out. This is a fucking crazy fire.
Yeah, this is at first, so what seems to be a terrorist attack is a giant fire that has just spread throughout all of Heinessen. the city, specifically, kind of just like the fire, like water, is just like rushing through the streets, just like, incinerating everything in its path.
We got people jumping into the ocean.
It's some real fucking shit. It's some real shit. Just like people like just completely annihilated. It's like
18,000 square kilometers were destroyed.
Yes, and the aftermath is equally interesting.
I do want to point out a quick thing is as they're going through this information, we get a view of like a bunch of people, like relief stations set up at a stadium, and we see a statue of Jessica Edwards.
Yes, who has been memorialized apparently by the FPA for her efforts in the name of democracy, which is like, a real fucking slap in the face.
Yeah, yes, but also, man,
I don't know. I think it's kind of an insult, the idea that the FPA would honor Jessica Edwards retroactively, like the FPA did not deserve Jessica Edwards. Like they truly did not. Like
it was the coup d'état forces that shot her, right? Like
yes, but like in many ways, like it was the FPA. I don't know. Like yes, on one hand you are correct that it was the coup d'état's forces, but also like just the FPA and because the idea that this statue was likely like erected like probably like post Vermilion. Like in my head, I imagine this statue was erected like post Vermilion, like post like Labello coming into power, and like the idea of like the same FBA that prosecuted Yang to the point of their own self-destruction would like erect a statue to honor Jessica Edwards, who fought in the name of like liberal democracy, is like, I don't know. I want to imagine it's a nice little gesture, the tiny like indication that maybe the FPA actually did care. But there's also a part of me that's just lost so much faith in like the once and former FPA.
Whatever. Like I care about Jessica Edwards.
Yes, of course I care about Jessica Edwards. I'm just pointing out that like I don't know. Like it's nice to see her remembered, but also like I can't even tell if it's a genuine like gesture or not anymore. But
there was a lot of stuff going on during that fire. Lots of people died. A lot of Imperial soldiers died. They note because they were unfamiliar with the geography of the city.
Yes. So what we get next is kind of an interesting like list of basically the events of the aftermath of the fire. So yes, as Iro kind of noted, like a lot of Imperial soldiers were killed, which lend credence to this idea that it was a FPA remnants terrorist attack. However, because a large number of the buildings destroyed were like historical like FPA architecture, this led credence to the idea that perhaps this was an Empire false flag designed to like stamp out the old infrastructure and build the new Empire structures in their place. And eventually they reveal that actually the Great Fire in this situation was purely an accident. That
yes, there was a Zephyr particle generator underground or something. It says that the Alliance had given to private interests for mining reasons.
Yes.
So capitalism fixes everything yet again.
Exactly. Capitalism has totally never ever explicitly killed people. But so despite the fact that nobody was actually to blame, the Empire decided that they needed some kind of like tangible scapegoat, and they decided that who better than the patriotic Night Corps, who, if you'll remember, are Truniht's goons that attacked Edwards and Yang, all the way back in season 1.
Yeah,
and
we get
basically just crack down on them.
Yeah, some quick exposition that, by the way, they're affiliated with the Earth Cult, as if we had not realized that.
Yes. And I'm of mixed feelings about this scene, because on one hand, fuck the PKC, like they're getting exactly what they deserve. On the other hand, maybe this is like a bit of my inner Yang speaking here, but it speaks to a dangerous precedent that, as Yangs want to worry about. Reinhard is setting a dangerous precedent here that leadership can just like
crackdown,
basically sanction like illegally sanctioned killings of like undesirable like organizations, should they like elicit the ire of the people in power. Like, I'm not trying to defend the PKC, believe me, but like the idea that Reinhard did not crack down on the PKC because, I don't know, because they're fascist like fucking like bootlickers, but instead because like
they decided they needed a scapegoat for the fire,
is like it very much feels to me all the wrong reasons to crack
like
down.
they literally say like the MPs chose the PKC from among several candidates.
Right, like the idea that, oh, they could have picked from multiple people, and they picked the one that like just
happened to be
like deeply unpopular. So like, again, it is a thing of like Reinhardt is technically doing like if you want to get into the whole like objectivist morality thing, is Reinhardt technically doing the like objectively moral thing of removing the PKC from the world? Yes, but he is also doing it for all the wrong reasons, which, again, it's like when he had the FPA officers from last week's episodes executed. Like, again, those guys were fuckboys. They deserved it, but also like without trial sets what, again, I feel is a dangerous precedent. But in addition to the crackdown on the PKC, make sure to note that the damage that was caused by the fire was thankfully reduced and mitigated because Reuenthal conveniently wrote a book on
Reuenthal had like
situation.
a ton of extremely granular plans for emergency countermeasures.
Yes, for such a situation as this, just thankfully. A trait we had never ascribed to Reuenthal before this is that apparently Reuenthal is a prepper. Yeah, he just wrote like Reuenthal would be a prepper. Yeah, he would totally like build a bunker and like show it to Mittermeier. But
it would have a wine cellar in it.
Oh, of course it would. Of course it would. Wine doesn't go bad. It's the perfect like liquid to keep around. But it's very funny, but also notably, it puts Reuenthal back into distinctly good standing with the Empire.
Right. Everyone was like, "Wow, he did such a good job. The punishment will be light, if at all." And so Reinhard walks out and says, "I relieve you of your position," and everyone goes, "No!" Only for Reinhard to continue that to order that Reuenthal is now the Governor General of Neue Land, aka former FPA territory.
It is no longer. Yes, no longer Heinessen. It is now Neue Land or New Land or whatever you want to call it. Which, oh boy, they're just really like putting the final like nails in the coffin of the FPA here. Like, they're not even allowed to fucking keep the name of their.
So in certain ways, Reuenthal is second only to the Kaiser.
Yes. Because not only is he, because the authority of the Governor General also means the authority to govern all political and military affairs on the former territory known as Heinessen. Mm-hmm. Basically, Reuenthal now has the second biggest fleet and is in control of the second largest territory in the galaxy.
They hand him a Grillpulser Nepstein as well.
Yes.
They note that he has command of 35,000 warships and about 5 million soldiers.
Yes, and, like, on one hand, glad Reuenthal, beat the case on a false accusation. On the other hand, this is a very interesting development. Because, as we all know, Reuenthal hasn't technically betrayed Reinhard, but he sure has considered it.
Yeah.
And the idea that now he's like been given the keys to basically given the keys to his own kingdom is very interesting because it gives Reuenthal an amount of power that, again, they say power corrupts. We don't know how Reuenthal's going to handle this amount of authority given to him, but considering that Reuenthal's only like mental justification for not rebelling against Reinhard was his rationalization that, well, Reinhard's clearly better than me, so like he has the right to rule. But now that Reuenthal is a little bit closer to Reinhard in status, I wonder if he's going to end up revisiting those thoughts he had before. But before he can kind of move into his new digs, Reinhard makes some other appointments. He says that Lutz has been appointed to defense commander of Fezzan, so he's been relieved of his command of Iserlohn because of, well, losing Iserlohn. Valen from Odin will be assigned to the Iserlohn front, so he's basically going to join, I guess, Mecklinger on that side of the Iserlohn front.
He announces he basically says Steinmetz will take a role as some kind of superintendent assistant. Yes. And the narrator notes that he was originally going to give this position to Hilda, and Hilda refused because she does not have any direct military experience.
Right. Which, good for her, I guess, for knowing that, like, hey, this is basically just nepotism, so...
I mean, she's the smartest person in the show.
Yes. Well, yes.
But it's not in her normal wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Important of a role or something.
Indeed.
I don't know. But he says none of these declarations will go into effect until we kick young Winley out of Iserlohn.
Yes, he includes the biggest asterisk, the biggest conditional statement to all of these appointments, is that before you all can move into your new digs, we have to beat Yang Wenli. And Reinhard specifically swears he will never return to Odin or Fezzan until Yang bends the knee. And this is a very important statement to make because there are maybe some things going on at Odin that he may want to be at Odin for. But before we get there, Reinhard prepares to leave for his new grand campaign against Yang Wenli.
Asks Hilda to deal with Reuenthal's child, aka that problem.
Yes, Hilda's basically saying, what are you going to do with the kid and Elfried? And Reinhard is like, can't we just send that baby to the penal colony like the rest of them?
Can we just abort it? Like, no, it's too far along.
Yeah.
So, can we just...
Again, the idea that like Reinhard is like, just send him to the penal colony. I don't want to think about this. And it takes
bad for kids, apparently.
Yes, and it takes Hilda a little bit of convincing on Hilda's part to convince Reinhard to be to kind of back off on this. I do like that Reinhard backs off of this pretty quickly because, like, you can tell his brain is fully back into Yang Wenli mode, and, like, anything not related to Yang Wenli is just a trivial matter that Hilda can take care of. So, I noticed that, like, Reinhard was much more, like, willing to bend over on this when he's, like, too busy, thinking about Yang Wenli than back when he was, like, Kaiser and, like, he was, like, pushing back more because I guess he was bored or something. But,
yes.
But so Reinhard kind of relents on that, and we kind of switch over to Rubinsky. Yes, because it turns out that Rubinsky is also beginning to make some moves. Rubinsky's
Reinhard's greatest weakness right now is his sister.
Yes. Rubinsky points out that Reinhard might put up the illusion of being like the benevolent Golden Emperor, but like we know the real Reinhard. He is prone to some very strong fits and tempers, especially when his sister is involved, and that we could try to assassinate her. We wouldn't even need to succeed. Just the brazenness of the attempt would send Reinhard into such a rage that like he would probably try to return to Odin. And, like, the idea here being that, like, a raging, like, angry Reinhard is an irrational Reinhard, and an irrational Reinhard is a little bit easier to manipulate. And Rubinsky also points out that he suspects that Oberstein will likely not take well to Reuenthal's new assignment, because now Reuenthal has power that equally rivals Oberstein. I think Oberstein for a while after he got rid of Kirkeyes, or conveniently let Kirkeyes take a bullet, it kind of became the de facto number 2. But now that position is a little bit muddier because of Reuenthal's newfound powers. I think was it Dominique
Saint-Piel or whatever.
Saint-Piel asks Rubinsky, so be real with me. Was the fire your idea? And I love Rubinsky's like, not everything is a conspiracy, but
I'm flattered you think it was my idea. But
yes, I'm flattered you thought that was my idea, but like, not everything is a conspiracy.
I do like everyone rushing to take advantage of a natural disaster.
Right, because that's very real. That's politics. Like, everybody does that. I mean, in the historical tangent I'll be getting into at the end of this episode, I will bring up some very good examples of people taking advantage of natural disasters.
Mm-hmm.
And Rubinsky points out that, like, in many ways, like, the sign of like a true statesman is, in fact, is not just their ability to plan things out in advance. It's not just their ability to manipulate the factors around them, but is also their ability their ability to react and exploit the unexpected to their own means.
Yeah.
And like, here's a case where the Empire did a magnificent job of that. Here's a case where I think even Rubinsky himself has some plans for what to do with Heidessen in the wake of the fire.
Yeah.
But we kind of leave on that note, because
he asks, he also is like, Dominique, won't you have my child?
Right, he does just say, hey, wanna fuck, like, and have my kid.
But she's still not happy about what happened to Rubinsky's other kid.
Yes, Rupert. She is like, right. She's like, yeah, like, she's like, yeah, I don't know. Do I really want to watch you do that to another kid?
Yeah.
And then here's where Rubinsky gets like weirdly, like, again, I don't even know if Rubinsky actually means this, because Rubinsky claimed the same thing. Thing right before he killed Rupert. But Rubinsky says, no, not to kill my child, but for him to kill me. Because Rubinsky has this like absurd like philosophy that like it is the role of a son to kill his father. And like,
all right, dude,
take it easy there. But we kind of leave on that note. We are informed that Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit have left for Iserlohn because, as we were informed before, they're kind of the vanguard of the front of the Iserlohn war. They're kind of supposed to come in. They're supposed to come in from like the FPA side. So they're kind of on their way there. Mittermeier and Steinmetz and a few others, a ton of others, are told to go back to Odin through Fazan to come around on the other side to, I guess, reinforce Mecklinger.
Yep.
Reinhard has yet another one of his like weird. Sorry, what?
Sitting in his flower garden with Emil to punch.
Yes, he is like to do the very Reinhard thing he does, which is pontificate about like his nature as a ruler. And Reinhard, again, I will remind you, poetically calling yourself a warmonger does not make you any less of a warmonger. Like, asking yourself in flowery language, oh, am I fighting wars because this is all I know as a ruler? Like, yes! Yes! That is exactly what you're doing.
Have just a smidge more self-awareness, please.
Yes.
And he delicately brushes Mill's hair out of his eyes.
Yes.
And flashes back to his time with Kirkeyes.
Yes, to the better days.
Yes, the better days where he would just do handstands on the lawn.
Yes.
And be like, hey, sister, look what I could do. I could do a handstand.
Right, and like, this is not kid Reinhard, maybe, but this is like still like, this is a young adult Reinhard.
He's still an admiral. He's an admiral. Like,
yes, and just
we get the excellent line. Oh my, an Imperial fleet admiral is doing a handstand.
Yes, it's so good. Just like, I like that Reinhard's fucking visualization of the better days. Back when I was young and imperious. Back when I would do silly, childish things like handstands on the lawn for my sister. It's just like...
He just wants to make the people he loves happy, man, by doing handstands.
Reinhard, what is your deal?
Maybe Reinhard should have just gone to clown college.
Yeah.
And, become the greatest clown of all.
Pursued his true passion. But, yeah, so finally we
Meanwhile, at
return
Iserlohn,
to Iserlohn, yes.
and we get everyone is preparing for the inevitable, battle.
Yes, yes.
And we
They
get
are
they're preparing with all of their foppery and whim.
yes, they are preparing in only the way that the young irregulars can, which is joking around and like, still like getting ready, like we see a great bit where like Shen Kopp is like training like the fucking like Rosenritter guys in what looks like a fucking 80s like yoga studio where they're like just
When
like
they're like kendo slashes.
right. They're like swinging their axe, and like you can just imagine like some like fucking like 80s bop playing in the background, and Shenkop going and swing and swing and swing and chop. It's just like it's so good. But yeah, just everybody's getting ready.
Yep. And
We
the
see
ED is playing all
oh
over this
yeah,
whole sequence.
full version of Edie playing. They're really hammering home like these are the final moments of these characters. Like we see Poplin back in his pilot uniform. It's
Right.
been nearly 2 whole seasons since we've seen him. Repping the Star Wars Rebel orange. Yeah, repping the Skywalker look. He's like, doing the thing ace pilots do of like signaling to like the crew guys, like, no, you got to modify my gun, like get it to within this degree of like, aiming like distribution or whatever,
And Julian comes by with a notebook, or he's
yes,
looking at a notebook, and Julian comes by to look at it.
yes,
They're like
pictures of like
logos for the squad.
Yes, new squad insignias, I guess.
And Margarita and
yeah,
Sherry and all that.
Yes, and then because Julian is holding the book, he flips to another page of the book where it is a bunch of women in lingerie.
The lingerie squad.
Yes, and of course, while Julian is holding the book on this page specifically, is when
and like
Karen,
everybody's having fun looking at the
is when Karen decides to stroll over and look at what's going on. Once again, proving that Julian is incapable of looking cool in front of Karen.
Of all the times.
Just fucking Julian's fucking completely non-existent game.
It's hilarious.
Like, we all joked about the flowers of Iserlohn. I gotta be honest, I'm not actually sure Julian has the game to be a VN harem protagonist.
No, yeah, now he's downgraded from VN harem protagonist to just anime harem protagonist.
Yeah, like hapless anime protagonist. Yes. Like I think Julian legitimately does not have like the social skills required to actually woo a woman, like just based on what he has shown up till now. But yeah, kind of everybody's kind of just getting ready. We see shots of like, Mirai and Kazalnu and Yang, and everybody's kind of like, around the maps and getting ready and like, running the simulations. And again, the full version of the ED is playing, and it's very bittersweet. And Julian, Julian, the narrator says that Julian would remember every moment of this moment, like of these times for the rest of his life. I'm just like, why would you phrase it like that?
Yep. How much partying, how much bloodshed awaits them.
I know everybody on Iserlohn is gonna die other than like Julian and maybe Karen, but why would you fucking
make it so chill?
Yeah, but just with that episode finished, it's
we move on to episode 77.
Yeah, kind of an interesting episode.
Corridor.
Yeah. Wait, hold on 1 second. I'm just kind of double checking what we have here. I just want to make sure. Okay, so one thing I actually wanted to talk about real quick because
you mentioned a historical tangent.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yes, because Reuenthal has been assigned to a position of power, and because of kind of this newfound vigor in Reinhard's attack on Iserlohn, combined with also Karl Black's mention of like military spending, I kind of wanted to like bring up like this because like I basically wanted to talk about like what are often the unintended consequences of warfare. Like, if you look at the numbers, there is no reason why Reinhard should lose this battle against Yang. Like, He outnumbers Yang. He has the better men. He has the better leadership. Like, by all intents and purposes, Reinhard has Yang beaten by basically every metric other than Yang Wenli himself. And so that leads me to kind of ask, well, then if that's the case, what is the actual takeaway going to be from this upcoming battle? And a conversation we had after watching this episode was, in all likelihood, if Yang doesn't win this battle, it will at least likely be what I think will be a very costly victory for Reinhard. My suspicion is that if Reinhard wins this battle, it will be at great cost, both material and manpower. And the reason I bring that up is because those kinds of losses, like, I think everybody's heard the term Pyrrhic victory before. It's the idea that even if you have won the battle, the cost that it demanded of your forces is so great that despite, ostensibly winning, you have been effectively destroyed as a faction or an organization, because there's just no way for you to reliably recover from those losses, just because of the sheer expenses of both replacing that manpower and the material costs. An example of this I want to bring up, because it's kind of within a realm of my expertise, is it kind of reminds me a lot of the fall of the Ming Dynasty. Now, the Ming Dynasty, which succeeded the Yuan Dynasty, the Mongol-ruled dynasty, the Ming Dynasty, it fell for many of the classic reasons Chinese dynasties fall: the growing corruption of the eunuchs, the control of the infighting between generals and politicians, all the classic stuff that happens to every Chinese dynasty. But additionally, a couple of other factors also came into play, and that was in a twist of irony, the Ming Dynasty basically won too many wars in too short of a time span, but they won them in very costly manners. This kind of begins with what is known as the Tumu Crisis, in which the Ming were fighting a war against the Oirats, which was kind of splinter tribe of the Mongols, and basically the Oirat tribe managed to kidnap the next heir to be of the Ming Dynasty, which kind of sent a very real succession crisis into order. Eventually, the Ming Dynasty responded by just crowning that dude's brother as emperor, but which led to the Oirats being like, oh, well, shit, this guy's worthless to us now, so they released him. And then when that dude who got released waged his own civil war against the newly crowned emperor and took the emperorship back, and civil wars, not good for stability.
Yeah, messy.
After that, because the Ming Dynasty, after kind of beating the Yuan and kind of pushing back the Mongols, many Mongol descendants were still part of the court and were still part of the military leadership, and it would have been both too costly and too, would have risked a civil war if they had purged all Mongol leadership from the military. However, maybe they should have, because one of the Mongol generals of the Ming Dynasty, or a descendant of Mongol generals, was a defector by the name of Cao Jin, and he and his army defected from the Chinese, from the Ming Dynasty. And, well, as you might surprise, this was yet another costly civil war that they had to put down. You can begin to see the trend here. Finally, this all culminates in the Imjin War. This is the war that was fought between the alliance of the Korean dynasties and the Ming dynasties, and the invading Japanese, led by Hideyoshi. So in this situation, once again, the Ming Dynasty, technically the victors of this war. They managed to push back the Japanese, and the Japanese would never attempt to invade mainland Asia until, the 1930s. But the cost was great. Lots of manpower, lots of material lost. Again, the success of these wars all happening within the span of roughly the same century kind of drained the coffers, kind of sent like the value of silver plummeting. In general, they're very bad economic shit. And then this all got exacerbated by both the mini ice age that happened during this time period across the planet that led to widespread like famines as a result of the poor harvests, and also then a catastrophic earthquake happened, killing over 800,000 people in China. And, you know, those last two, the Ming Dynasty couldn't really do anything about them. But, like, as you can kind of get from what I'm saying here, is like, these events don't exist in vacuums. They have long-standing consequences. And the whole reason I went into this tangent is because now that Reuenthal has been given this much power, I do wonder, what if Reinhard does, like, eventually win this battle against Yang Wenli, but it is at the cost of his fleet, right? Like, what if Yang Wenli just bleeds the hell out of Reinhard's fleet?
It will create the potential situation that Reinhard or that Reuenthal has occasionally entertained, where he will have the chance to take power.
Exactly. Like, because like it's not cheap to raise up new soldiers and build a new fleet. If all of a sudden, like, let's say Yang's attempts kind of bleed out Reinhard, then there's also the expenses of rebuilding Heinessen. Then there's also whatever Rubinsky is planning with like Anna Rose and whatever's going on Fazan, as we will see in the next episode. Like, what if all these like disparate elements, if one of them alone is not enough to bring down Reinhard? What if enough of these things keep piling up? And like, sure, he is, the god tier statesman, the perfect like strategist, like, blah blah blah. But like, everybody has a limit. Everybody has a breaking point. And like, what if all that stuff happens and then also Reuenthal decides, you know what? I'm not just the governor general of Noye Land. I'm the president of Noye Land, or I'm the king for life of Noye Land, like, or I'm the new Kaiser. I am the Noye Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, these kind of events, like, individually, because again, like the Ming Dynasty, this seemingly like giant, like one of the strongest dynasties in Chinese history, like seemingly unbreakable, was eventually destroyed because of just subsequent events that, like, again, these events were not allied with each other. Rubinsky is not working with Yang, or at least, not to Yang's knowledge. Like, these were disparate events, caused by, like, disparate factions. But because they were all aimed at, the biggest player in the room, we're eventually able to bring them down. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm not saying that I think Reinhard is going to, like, his empire is going to, like, get taken down in season 3, no doubt. But, like, I wonder if, like, future events in this show will be about Reinhard trying to consolidate his power, and recover from some of the losses that he will take because of these events conspiring against him. And
after that speculation section, we can move on to episode 77.
All right, fine.
To the
Clearly,
corridor. I'm just saying, we need to keep. You said we gotta keep this rolling.
Yeah, I guess.
I know. Yeah, I mean.
So, Iro, tell us what's going on in the Windy Corridor.
The remastering is not great in the Windy Corridor. The first cut, like the first scene of this episode, I guess all they had was VHS or something. It's really blurry.
It's a little rough.
And Reinhard is preparing to launch. He's admonishing Grillpauser to do a good job taking care of Heinessen while Reuenthal is off doing the real war.
Yes. The subtext being, don't fucking pull a Lenin Kampf, I swear to God. Like, if you fuck this up like Lenin Kampf, like, your head is mine.
Mm-hmm. And Reinhard also orders the demolition of the big-ass statue of Ale Heinessen praising the sun.
Yes. It's a very... Reinhard's rationale for this, I get, but also you cannot deny that this is a very explicit like show of cultural power.
The narrator is like, well, you see, it's not disrespectful because he didn't intervene with the Ole Heinessen Memorial Hall or the grave of Ole Heinessen.
But it's also like, this is still a political move.
He just hates big statues.
Yes,
he has an official like declaration that if anyone's going to build a statue of Reinhard von Lohengrin, it has to be 10 years after his death, and it cannot be any bigger than life size.
Yes. He claims that no sane person could bear such a giant statue. And again, it's an interesting point because, like, as well remember,
Heinessen died on the way.
Motherfucker didn't even make it to Heinessen.
Right, like, but they named it after him because he died on the way.
Right, it's more they honored, like, I mean, in many ways they honor him because of his, like, rhetorical, like, impact, right? Because he got the ball rolling, but it's not like the dude himself ever actually ruled the FPA. And so, like, I feel like taking him down is, like, again, I agree, ostentatious statues are very gaudy, but on the other hand, I feel like this is a very distinct, like, this is an intentional takedown of democracy itself. Because let's be real, Heinessen himself doesn't really represent him. It represents the ideal of what he stood for. So, to take that down is to take down those ideals. But we kind of move on from that because
everyone's launching towards the corridor.
Yes, Reinhard basically is mobilizing his entire fleet. He points out that Young basically has two choices because of the situation he's caught in and because of the resources he has. His options are either to advance and attack to try and break through, or withdraw and defend. Mm-hmm. And that basically Young is, according to Reinhard, caught between these two binaries. And that it will basically, the strategy they will use will basically come down to what Young tries to do. Yeah. But before we can talk about that,
something happened that not even he could have foreseen.
Yes, an unexpected event on Fazan, and that unexpected event is a party being held for Valen and Lutz. Coming to Fazan.
Yep, and Silverberche also getting ready to go to the party, but he's building his fancy plamo of the planned palace for the new Imperial capital, Fazan.
Yes. Gluck is trying to pick up Silverberche. Like, hey, we're late to the party. And Silverberche's like, hold on, I'm building my like
really cool.
my 1/1000 scale model of like the new Imperial Palace.
Palace Rubenberg.
Yes. And Silverberche points out that
fiddling with the tweezers and everything.
Yes. Silverberche kind of like, he posits that he hopes to one day be prime minister, not because he thinks he wants the power, but because he believes that, like, once Reinhard has won all of these wars, the next era of Reinhard's rule will be fought between technocrats. It will be fought by the bureaucrats and the civic individuals who will be responsible for, like, the the handling of civic matters in Reinhard's New World Order, and that like, he hopes that people like him will be there to ensure that that it is run to the best of its ability.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Lutz and Valen are also on their way to the party.
Lutz is like, I can't believe they're holding a party for me when I was demoted here.
Yeah. I like that even Lutz is in on the Kircheis's death was clearly Oberstein's fault train.
Uh-huh.
So
I guess they both served under Kircheis during the Lipstadt incident.
Right, exactly. So they also have their loyalties to him. However, Valen's robot arm is malfunctioning, and he needs to get it taken care of.
I do love, he's like, boy, it sure would be a shame if my robot arm malfunctions and slaps Oberstein across the face during the party.
Yes. Oh, yes, it's very good.
Gosh, that would be just terrible, wouldn't it?
Everybody just continued to make their fucking, like, resentment for Oberstein clear as day. But Valen needs to get it fixed, so he delays his arrival to the party. He's running a little bit late. And perhaps, as we suspected, this would have in some ways come into play. Because we see Silverberche, he's bored at the party and going for a little walk. Yes. And just as he's walking around, a bomb goes off at the ceremony. Yes, and Many people are injured, including Oberstein, who is also there. He is injured.
Lutz as
Baltic,
well.
the Fazan guy who sold out
Yeah.
Fazan, is also there. Lutz, also there, injured. Unfortunately, Silverberche is killed
Yep.
in the
And
bombing.
not Overstein.
Yes, and not Oberstein, proving once again that we live in an unjust universe. Um,
Yep.
we have a good scene where Oberstein is in the hospital with bandages on, and he is still
Stone-faced.
completely stone-faced Oberstein, like, didn't even exclaim or shout when he got nearly bombed to death.
Yep.
He's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
Which, of course,
Valen goes to visit Lutz in the hospital, and Lutz
yes,
is like, I can't die before Oberstein. I can't wait to
yeah,
go to his funeral and like read a nice letter that talks about how good he is, but in my heart, I'll be like, fuck that guy. And it'll
yes,
be
yes,
great.
yes. Let's just can't wait to fucking basically shit on Oberstein's grave, and it's fantastic.
Then
But
the
yes,
nurse comes in.
oh yes, the
Let's go name subtitle.
yes, the unusually both pretty and named nurse Clara shows up.
Yep.
We don't really know what her deal is, just that she's been tasked with taking care of Lutz. I do like that Lutz is like, "Who is there? Come in." And then it's a pretty lady, and he's like, "Oh shit, I didn't know it was a pretty lady. I thought it was one of my subordinates. Oh, sorry." It's very like,
Wallen, leaves to let his boy.
yeah. Yes, Valen's like, all right, I'll let my boy get babied by this pretty nurse. So I don't know, man. I'm suspicious. Why is she named? Like, nobody in this fucking show has a name unless they're gonna fucking do some important shit down the line.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm already,
There was like Kessler's childhood friend or whatever, right?
dude. I am already immediately suspicious.
Yep.
But yes, the interesting thing is, yeah, because of this, like, this implies that now Gluck is the new Minister of Civil Engineering.
Yep.
As we all remembered, Gluck was competent, but nowhere near the genius of Silverberche.
Right.
And
they said that Gluck is good at his job, but is better suited for a period of stability rather than a period of growth.
yes, like he's a good guy at maintaining the course, but not good at like looking at how to like critically improve things. And I think this is an important detail because like the thing we have talked about, like the thing we always suspected was that like what will eventually, if not bring Reinhard down, but make things much more difficult for him, will be the inevitable brain drain of his like talented individuals, right?
Yeah.
Like the loss of, because I don't subscribe to great man theory, but you can't deny that like there have been individuals who, because of their unique talents and because of just sometimes the luck of where they were situated in, were able to kind of make major changes in history. And Silverberche is definitely intentionally framed as one such figure. And there's this idea that like, well, now that he's lost forever, this is already like it's not just the loss of a good man, it is the loss of like potential important improvements to the like civic structure of Reinhard's new empire.
Yeah.
And that might not mean that might not mean a great deal now, but it could mean a great deal down the line.
Yeah, in 10 years when Silverberche would have been prime minister.
Exactly.
Hilda continued to advocate for leaving Young alone.
Yes. Reinhard is like,
also that he could potentially invade into Odin, and that would be bad.
Yes. Reinhard continues his fucking like I'll 1v1 him at 7-Eleven spiel. Reinhard is like, it's too bad.
Not learned his lesson of being repeatedly schooled on by Yang Wen-li.
Yes, he has not learned his lesson because Reinhard says, it's too bad Yang doesn't have a proper fleet. I totally one-on-one him. And Hilda is like, please, Reinhard, I barely saved your life last time.
If you really want to fight him for equals, then you can leave him alone now and let him get stronger.
Yes. Hilda does advocate the idea. Like, maybe we should just leave Yang alone because we have civic matters to pay attention to. And Reinhard's not really having any of it. I do like that Reuenthal suspects that, what? It wouldn't even surprise me if somehow Oberstein planned the bombing.
Yep, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
he and Mittermeier just kind of shitting on Oberstein.
Yes, Oberstein earns a Yang-esque appellation to his name. We now have the Walking Poison Oberstein. So, but none of that matters because something of far greater import happens next. We are
potentially connected to the bombing on Fazan. Another incident happens on Heinessen. There's a mysterious fire at the National Psychiatric Hospital. There's 11 people dead or missing. We get a shot of 10 corpses.
Yes.
And that one of the people who is dead or missing is motherfucking former Commodore Andrew Fork.
Motherfucking Andrew Fork.
I still can't believe it.
Back from season 1. Somehow in the spotlight again.
Like the last time you showed it was episode 19.
Yes.
It's been almost 60 episodes.
We have discovered that the Earth Cult has sprung Andrew Fork and that they have plans deigned for him. And I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this.
Has busted out Andrew Fork of all people. Just
unbelievable. I cannot.
Approaching episode 16 levels of what?
Yes. I have in the hundreds of calculations of where this show would go in my head. Never did one of my calculations say Andrew Fork would return in what seems to be a narratively relevant role, but somehow here he is.
Yeah. Just
unbelievable,
ridiculous. But which is kind of the tacit. The show basically saying that the bombing of Fazan was Earth Cult.
Yes. Lutz suspects that the plan was likely a failure because they were probably going after military personnel, and technically they didn't kill a single member of military personnel at that bombing.
Yeah.
So there is a high likelihood they might try again in the near future. Rubinsky, on the other hand, we return to Rubinsky, and Rubinsky, being the fucking galaxy brain he is like, nah, even a failed plan is still part of my plan. Or a failed attack is part of the plan. It's all coming together, all according to Keikaku.
Indeed.
And he says that he's about to use his next playing piece, which is Dominique. That he has a need for her highly specific skill set. Yes.
Meanwhile, Bittenfeld has in his command room and listening to opinions from his staff.
Yes, he's on the front lines. He's arrived at the front lines of the Iserlohn battle. He is bored and listening to his officers. One of his officers suggests, "Hey, I got a great idea. How about we tell Yang to surrender and that we'll treat all of his people well, but then let's actually not, and let's fuck him over." And
bring him to the negotiation table and then just arrest him at the negotiation table.
Just arrest him. It's perfect. And Bittenfeld has the best fucking reaction I have ever seen. Bittenfeld just says, "Don't give me bullshit like that ever again." Bittenfeld is furious at the suggestion of such cowardly tactics. Bittenfeld says, "I am fine when I am called an incompetent by Reinhard, but no one will call Bittenfeld a coward or a sneak." And it's a great scene. You see some other members of Bittenfeld's crew that are more veteran. They're looking at each other and they're this fucking hotshot young officer probably thinks that he's gonna move up the ranks and convince Bittenfeld of this daring new plan. When everybody else at the table knows fucking dumbass, you're part of the Black Lancers, you do know what is the only strategy Bittenfeld has in his back pocket, right? So Bittenfeld Skype calls Fahrenheit, basically complaining about how bored he is.
Yes.
He says, "Hey, look at all these dumb plans my officers came up. They're all fucking lame, but I guess you should read them because you're better at this stuff, right? Maybe there's something good here." And Fahrenheit is "Well, gee, Bittenfeld is just so bored. why don't you just go up to Reinhard? I mean, why don't you just go up to Yang and demand he surrender?
Yeah, why don't you
Bittenfeld's
do it, man? Whatever.
And Bittenfeld's like, you know what? I'll give that a shot.
Wait, no, stop.
And like, Fahrenheit's like, wait, what? No. And turns out Bittenfeld actually tries. Bittenfeld gets on the hood of his car with a loudspeaker and is just like, hey, Yang Wenli, it's me, Bittenfeld. Give up.
Bittenfeld would try and get out onto the top of his spaceship with a megaphone.
Yes. And the narrator tells us that because of Bittenfeld's actions, this battle would take unexpected turns.
He's such a...
Oh, Bittenfeld. Oh, Bittenfeld. You truly are. You are the worst, but you're also the best. Just the idea that, like, here's the thing. Like, there's actually, Bittenfeld's dumbass, but also Bittenfeld has very good reasons for, not going through with such a plan. Like, I'm not really going to get into it too much here, but, there's a reason why, nobility as a concept is somewhat overrated, but nobility as a social construct is actually very important. Because, I use nobility as a catch-all term. I'm really just speaking to this idea of, the respect for diplomacy and treaties. Because the idea is, sure, you could invite your enemy's general to the negotiation table and then have them all assassinated. Yes, you could do that. And maybe that would actually be a good short-term trick.
Right, but then nobody would ever trust you ever again.
Exactly. That has long-term diplomatic repercussions. Afterwards, if you now have the reputation of being an untrustworthy bastard who just kills anybody who comes to the negotiation table, why should anybody ever negotiate with you ever again? And then that turns every war with your faction, not because there's that very pithy quote about how war is the final expression of diplomacy. This idea that war is the final option when diplomacy has failed to achieve a nation's, political aims, which is to a degree true. But and this idea is that you don't fight wars to kill people. I mean, you do, but you would kill people in the name of achieving a political, goal.
Yeah.
You fight wars to achieve that goal, and it just happens that the most efficient method of doing that is killing people. But if you become if you get the reputation of being the guy who kills people over dinner, now every war that is fought with you now becomes a war of destruction. And let me tell you, that doesn't work out most of the times. You can ask a lot of ancient kingdoms that no longer exist who were famed for their cruelty, even in diplomacy. What happened to them? I mean, I'm not going to go full historical tangent here because it would be unfair for me to indulge in two in the same podcast. But there is the infamous destruction of the Persian kingdom when, well, I'm not sure they're actually Persian. Apologies. This is actually not my specialty, but basically during the height of Genghis Khan's rule, he became aware, while he was busy building up his forces in East Asia, he had just finished conquering China, and he was beginning to aim, consolidating his rule. He heard of a powerful kingdom to the west, and what would be considered either Persia or, just generically the Middle East. He sent an envoy to their kingdom in the name of cooperation, that perhaps our two kingdoms could come to an alliance. The king of that kingdom had his messengers beheaded and their heads sent back to Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan sent these beheaded messengers to Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, to prove that there's actually kind of a fascinating, multifaceted aspect to the man. I kind of love the story, honestly. Genghis Khan is like, maybe they have cultural differences over there. I'll send another set of I'll send another set of messengers, and this time I'll have them bring a caravan of treasure with them. Maybe this time they'll be convinced. Sends this caravan to the kingdom. The kingdom has one of the messengers executed, and the other has his beard shaved. This is a very grave insult to the Mongol people. And sends that messenger back. Also steals the jewels and all the treasure that was in the caravan, of course.
Of course.
This is when Genghis Khan is like...
That's just smart diplomacy.
Right. This is when Genghis Khan is like, okay, All right. I see how this is. This kingdom is completely annihilated over the course of a decade.
Mm-hmm.
They are killed almost to the last man, woman, and child. Those who surrender are either enslaved or executed. The entire ruling clergy and nobility of this kingdom executed to the last man. This is where Genghis Khan has his famous speech, where he says, where he walks into the mosque of this kingdom's the central mosque of this kingdom's capital and says, "I am the scourge of your God. If you were not sinners, he would not have sent me to destroy you." And so, this is why they say, "Don't kill the messenger." Anyways, with the end of that is why Bittenfeld, A dumbass, B, actually still kind of a pretty decent guy.
And with that declaration, we move into episode 78, Spring Storm.
Yes. So we have a scene of Dusty
eating sandwiches,
writing his memoirs.
Yep. Eating sandwiches, writing his memoirs.
Yes.
Talking about how they're going to fight 90% of the universe.
Yes, exactly.
We would have been... the pressure would have driven us all insane if...
And then Poplin, being the fucking piece of shit, comes over. Also turns out that we can add a competent literary editor to skills.
Sure.
I think so.
Fine.
Because Poplin...
You can do everything else.
Poplin makes the snide comment, "Because we were already insane, right? Is that the line you were about to write?" Like, come on, man.
Like that kind of... The readers don't like it.
Yeah, the readers don't like overly predictable cliches. And Dusty's just like, "No, I wasn't gonna write that."
Like, shut up. What? Didn't you come up with a catchphrase yet?
And Poplin's like, "I sure did."
Viva democracy, baby.
Yes, Viva democracy. And Dusty's like, "You dumbass! That's the slogan we came up with in the first place." He's like, "Okay, fine. I came up with a second one. How about this? Die Kaiser."
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, "Oh, just Poplin, you fucking
dirtbag.
You fucking dirtbag. Fucking Die Kaiser." Or as they say, Die Kaiser die, or as in German, the Kaiser the.
Indeed.
But,
yes. We get this line, which is funny to me within the context of what this show is. But Poplin says, "If you're aiming to become a documentary literature writer, you don't want to throw around too many bizarre coined phrases." Looks at camera.
Yes. Then, just every fucking author in the world feeling seen at that moment.
Leave me alone, Poplin.
But we find out that Bittenfeld's message is being relayed in the middle of dinner.
Yes.
Yes, Yang and Mrs. Yang are having dinner with the Castle News. When Dusty's like, "Hey, Bittenfeld sent a message. You want to play it?" And Yang's like,
"Bittenfeld?
Bittenfeld? Wait, that Bittenfeld? I'm surprised he even knows how to pick up the phone. Yeah, send him through." And, Bittenfeld basically being Bittenfeld, being like, "I'm Bittenfeld. You don't stand a chance. You should surrender. You're just Yang Wenli. Yes, Yang Wenli.
You know that you don't have a chance."
And he specifically says, "Yang Wenli, you're a smart guy. You're a great general. You've proved yourself time and time again. But you're just one man, leading a bunch of nobodies. Meanwhile, I'm Bittenfeld, and it's not just me. There's like Mittermeier and Reuenthal and Lutz and Ballin. Yeah, the whole gang's here. We're coming for you." And Yang is like, "Oh." Basically, yes, Bittenfeld says here, the specific line is, "Your resistance is not only morally pointless, but tactically impossible." Which is actually a pretty damn good line. I wonder if Bittenfeld came up with that on his own. Actually, Bittenfeld's pretty good with words.
Sure.
As Yang notes, man, imagine the world if only Bittenfeld had been an FPA politician. Just imagine, like, how better things would be.
He could have shouted down Job Truniht.
Yes, just the world where Bittenfeld shouts down Job Truniht. What a world. But Yang also begins running the simulations in his head. He's trying to figure out, is Bittenfeld acting on his own, or is he doing this on orders from Reinhard? Because depending on which of these is true, that gives this a very different, playing field. Because if he's just doing this out of obligation because Reinhard has ordered him to, then he doesn't have a huge emotional investment in this surrender demand. But if Bittenfeld did this of his own accord,
we can use it.
We can use this. And Dusty's basically just like, should we respond? Also, I can't believe he called me a nobody. Don't they know me? Admiral Dusty Attenborough, the guy who once tricked, who did he trick? Did he trick Wallen? Who did he trick with the exploding transports trick? Steinmetz? Maybe? Or I don't remember. Point is, Dusty's done some shit before. He's not the world's best admiral, but he'll fight with all his foppery and whim.
Indeed. And we get some stuff of the Alpha Seal politicians.
Yes.
One dude is like, we should just throw Yang Wenli to the wolves, and
let's just sell him out,
and secure our own safety.
Proving that no matter the time and the age, fucking politicians continue to be the fucking worst human beings imaginable.
Right. Oh, we can't stand for coexistence with the Empire. We should get rid of Yang Wenli, who's advocating for coexistence.
Yes, Romsky here proves that while Romsky is kind of a dumbass, he is also well-intentioned. Romsky admits, we cannot sell out Yang Wenli. We invited him here specifically because of the political clout that having Yang Wenli as part of the Alpha Seal resistance would bring. Also, whether he means that, purely cynically, or if he means it sincerely, either way.
Right. When we also can't. Also, by the way, did you see how Reinhard treated the dudes who sold El Labello? That's gonna happen to us.
That would have been us. So Romsky, kind of a dumbass, but also Romsky surprisingly a little bit more politically apt than I gave him credit for. However, nonetheless, Alpha Seal decides to sell this as a PR move. Say that all of the politicians are fleeing to Iserlohn and leaving 0 military stationed at Alpha Seal, making the claim that this will make Alpha Seal more safe because the Empire
they publicly declare it as defenseless, not a military target, right?
Yes, basically saying, hey, it's not a military target, so please don't attack Alpha Seal, which it's a move, actually. On one hand, because of the politician who said he wanted to sell out Yang, there's a part of me that wants to believe this is just a fucking selfish, self-preservation move. On the other hand, this is in some ways not a bad choice if you want to preserve the civilian lives that are on that planet by basically, declaring altogether that, hey, if you attack these people, they have no means of resisting. They are a completely,
that's not
harmless target.
That's not what you're here for, basically.
Right. But yes, back on Iserlohn, Yang is busy trying to figure out how to pull one over on Reinhard.
Yeah.
He's kind of... I like that Yang is kind of recognizing Iserlohn's kind of multiple values, its strategic value, its tactical value, its political value, but also now its spiritual value, or spiritual in a sense. It's ideological value.
Yeah.
Because of Yang's, it's echoing what Mecklinger said in the first episode of this trio. Is that because of what Yang has done to the reputation of Iserlohn is no longer now the bastion of empire power. Now Iserlohn is the last bastion of liberal democracy. In that, unfortunately, for better or worse, even if he wanted to break through Mecklinger and go to Odin, he can't actually leave Iserlohn because Iserlohn is a symbol. It is a symbol of democracy.
And even if he'd want to trade it away to Reinhard, in negotiations, Reinhard is obsessed with fighting Yang Wenli.
Yes, there is no version of this that goes peacefully, because, even if Yang were to, get on his knees and surrender, Reinhard would be like that shonen rival who would be like, get up! We're still gonna fight, damn it! He would insist on it. And, Yang asks Julian, what do you think of all this? Julian says, is this in some ways predetermination?
Yang goes on this whole spiel about he doesn't believe in predetermination.
Right, that it belittles free will. Yes.
Can always just get the blame as to, it was predetermined.
Right, it belittles free will. The Yang basically is taking the stance that, even in the most desperate of situations, everybody has a choice. Everybody can make a choice. Like, and yes, does that choice sometimes mean the loss of life or harm? Yes. But on some level, all of mankind can make a choice.
Yeah.
And, it's an interesting philosophy. It's one that I'm not sure I fully buy into because, like, again, I feel like it ignores the practicality of, like, yeah, everybody can make a choice, but you have a gun to your head. Like,
choices kind of been made for you.
Your choices have been considerably narrowed unless, you are so deeply ingrained in your beliefs that you're willing to die for them, which, maybe Yang is, but, but it speaks to Yang's philosophy.
Yeah, he points out that maybe him losing would be a better outcome because surely Reinhard would treat all of his subordinates well.
Yes, Yang has recognized that, for better or worse, the FPA have kind of become, the quote-unquote de facto villains of the story, right?
Yeah.
Like, because Reinhard is a benevolent ruler, like, if Reinhard was a despot, at least the FPA would have some kind of, like, moral high ground to hold. But because democracy has failed its people so many times in the last few years, like Yang is fighting for an ideal, but he is fighting for an ideal that at this current moment in history has been tarnished.
Yeah.
Like, it has been tarnished and it has been compromised. And as a result, is not even popular amongst the mainstream anymore, the populace. Like, in many ways, Yang wonders, like, am I doing more harm than good? Like, Reinhard, like, he basically admits Reinhard is a good ruler. If Reinhard ruled the galaxy, he'd probably do a lot of really great things for it. But, then Yang also admits, but it wouldn't be democratic. It would not be, all those great things would not be accomplished by the will of the populace. It would be accomplished by the will of a single man. And as long as I draw breath, however much longer that lasts,
indeed,
I must fight.
And
meanwhile, Julian leaves, go take care of some business. He sees Karen.
Walking down the hallway. She's trying to read a book and carry a box simultaneously.
Yes, Julian's like, wow, Karen's so coordinated. She's so cool. And so immediately Karen walks into a wall. It's so funny. I completely lost it.
Julian's like game that bad.
Yes, that he can even like psychologically affect the women around him. Julian goes over to help.
And only makes things worse.
Yes, Julian tries to defend Shenkop, and I know that he probably means well, but, like, Julian, you have so much to learn about talking to girls. Like, holy shit, my guy. Like Julian totally even does the thing of, like, I don't get why she's mad. I just said the rational thing. And it's like, oh, Julian, you
idiot.
You have so much to learn.
Yep. And Casanu's like, oh boy, that kid.
He's talking.
Learn how to talk to ladies.
Yes, Kazanu is talking with Hortense, his wife.
Right, I just want to say for the record, the name Phyllis that I pulled out of the ether last podcast or whatever, his daughter's name is Charlotte Phyllis Kazanu. All
right, so hey, you got it.
I remembered one of their middle names and not their actual names.
Sure, you got it halfway right, and that's really what matters.
Well, like quarter right.
But so we have a great scene again.
I love these two. They are like rapidly rising in the ranks of like my favorite characters in the Yang crew. Like, Kazanu just like complaining about like what is he complaining about specifically here? I don't. My notes are a little general. He's like,
here.
Man, Julian really should learn.
Right. I mean, beyond that, did he?
Right.
I know he talked about something else.
Right? Like, well, he's been learning so much from Yang Wenli, and
the worst mentor at talking to girls.
Right. And so he's like, man, so it's Yang's fault. And his wife said, well, you share some of the blame as the one who introduced the two of them.
Yes, that's what it was, and I love their dynamic. It's very good. It's very sweet. Hortense bakes a cake. and serves some of it to Khwarezmia, who just fucking palms it and shoves it into his mouth because, like, he's like, oh, I got business to do.
Yep.
And we have a great little scene where his two daughters also try to eat it the way Daddy does, and Hortense's like, "No, you're gonna eat your food. You're gonna eat your food like fucking civilized people, not like the fucking savage I married who fucking eats a cake with his bare hands. That is
picks it up. It's like a cheesecake too. Like,
yeah, that's like a power move, man. Just like,
all over your fingers, like,
right. Like he's like. He's not even concerned. He's like, no, I'm busy. I got plans. But
and meanwhile, at the bar,
yes, we have Shenkop and Poplin drinking together. Dusty is Dusty is still a little bit angry about about both Poplin's literary advice and being called a nobody by Bittenfeld.
Yeah, Shenkop's giving terrible excuses for his behavior.
Yes,
I didn't know Karen even existed, so she's not an illegitimate daughter. I wasn't hiding her.
I didn't do anything bad.
Oh, fuck off!
So Dusty is like drinking alone by the bar instead of at the table where I don't
want to be infected by your impurity cooties.
Yes. Julian comes in and Dusty's like, "Hey, sit over here with me. Don't sit with those guys. They're a bad influence. You're gonna catch their depravity." And Dusty gives maybe what is single-handedly one of the best speeches in this whole show. Before that, Dusty has a great line where he's like, "Why did I have to turn 30? I haven't done any evil things like Shenkop.
I haven't done anything wrong with my life. I don't deserve to turn 30.
Right. Like, man, big mood, my guy. I haven't done any kind of like depraved or perverted shit. How come I'm still turning 30? I should be youthful forever because I'm a good person.
I don't have any illegitimate children.
Yeah,
I'm not a crazy womanizer.
But anyways, he's like sitting with Julian, who's like still kind of reeling from like his complete failure at talking to women.
Yeah.
And Dusty's like, you know what, kid? Let me tell you, like. I'm about to tell you about the most powerful words of the world. These words can refute any argument. They can refute any philosophy. They can destroy any rhetoric. These words will speak to the depth of your maturity and experience as a man. You can use these words at any time, and you'll always win the argument.
Teach me these words, Dusty Sensei.
Yes, and Dusty says those words are. And I paraphrase here. So what? Yep. And that's it. Just so what?
Yeah. So what, man?
Yeah. Like, so I'm a nobody. So this war is what did Bittenfeld say? Morally irresponsible and tactically impossible. So what?
Can't do anything worse. We can't get any worse.
Like, fuck you. Like, it can't get any worse already.
I'm doing this out of Foppery and Whim, motherfucker.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so good.
Oh, yeah, I like this a lot.
It's really good, yes. Like Dusty points out, like, look, the Empire is always going to beat us out at being serious. They're always going to beat us out because the Empire is so serious.
They're drinking poisoned wine. They're...
Yes, they execute people by drinking poisoned wine. Like, Reinhard takes down statues.
That cop's illegitimate child gets to be a pilot, and we have confrontations over it, and we move on with our lives.
Exactly.
Reuenthal's illegitimate child becomes the subject of a treason trial.
Yes, and nearly sent to a penal colony. This is idea that like
get over themselves,
right? The Empire can't get over themselves. Like, they are just as ridiculous as the FPA, but they demand on being taken seriously,
right.
which is, I think, what just makes us laugh even more.
If, like, the Dusty equivalent in the Empire had walked by and said to Reuenthal and Mittermeier, "I don't want to catch your impurity cooties."
Like, somebody might have actually right. Like, somebody might have gotten fucking killed. Like, I think this scene is a really great scene because it really shows like kind of the influence of Yang's leadership. Like, Yang has brought together some of the greatest minds Gray's minds and bodies under him, and because of the implicit trust he has in them, he's allowed them to like kind of relax the military standards they hold themselves to, because he knows that like these guys are at their best when they're being a little silly, like when they have room to like air out stress, right? Like if Yang were stressed out, everybody else is going to be stressed out. That's going to make things even worse. But like by making everybody kind of like more relaxed, we get to see like the more true sides of them. And that's kind of what Dusty is arguing here. Like, we'll never beat them in self-seriousness, so we just got to clown on them.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Thanks,
and
Dusty.
Then after having a few drinks, Yang has gone to bed with Frederica.
Just hear a fucking blood-curdling scream
from the other room.
Which like
Yang fucking... the scream is it really threw me off guard.
Thinking like, did an infiltrator get in and kill someone? Like,
yeah, like this is a death scream. Like, this is not like, as we find out, it's just Julian, and he's trying to vent some stress because of like what's been going on lately.
Look, I've occasionally just shouted out of nowhere, but I don't shout like someone's killing me. Like,
that's not a venting scream. That is a death scream. That is a death throes scream. I don't know what the hell. Julian must have had a lot of stress pent up.
Right.
But Yang turns on the lights, and he's like, "All right, kid, what's going on?" And Julian's just like, "I don't know, man. I just had to let it out.
I'm an immature human."
Yes, I'm a dumb kid. I'm still a dumb kid. Sure, I brought down the Earth cult, but I'm still a dumb kid.
I drop kicked the guy. I'm still a dumb child. I don't know.
I captured an Imperial cruiser almost single-handedly, but I can't even talk to a girl my own age. And Yang's like, "Want a drink? Let's sit and talk."
I
want to drink.
We'll drink.
Want to drink some more? How much alcohol is stored on Iserlohn?
I do like how it's all labeled Alpha Seal whiskey.
Yes, it's very good.
Like a detail.
Like the implication of like, all right, we're gonna need some supplies from Alpha Seal to bring to Iserlohn. Also, you're gonna need to give us all of your alcohol. We need all of it. Yes. But yeah, basically, Yang and Julian kind of have a great heart-to-heart.
Drink all night.
And yeah, they drink all night. They go through a whole bottle in a single night.
How can Yang Wen-li pull out his fucking speeches drinking so much?
I think, like I said, man, I think
just practice.
Practice, and the fact that he's a functional alcoholic. Like, it's just, yeah, it's like, and I think as the narrator kind of points out, like, funnily enough, the talk has nothing to do with girls, because Yang has no advice to give on girls. Like, Yang just lucked out into like having a chance meeting with the woman that would eventually like fall in love with him, and like just the sheer luck of that woman being like the kindest, most accommodating, most forgiving, most like just like compassion.
His pay grade.
Just compassion, like Frederica is so out of Yang's league, it is not even funny. And like he just lucked into like happening to rescue her at Alpha Seal or whatever, and just like leading to her developing a lifelong infatuation with him. Because like otherwise, like Yang has less game than Julian. Let's be real. Like at least Julian has like conventional like. I mean, he has a wingman like Poplin on his side helping him out, but also like at least Julian, except for when Karen's around, is like conventionally like masculine in the way that like, he's intelligent, but he also is compassionate, but he's also a good fighter. Like, whereas like Yang is just like a complete total fuck up.
Yep.
Like there is nothing attractive about Yang. He's an alcoholic. He's lazy. So that's why Yang gives advice or has a conversation with Julian that is more in the line of what he's good at, which is talking about philosophy and politics.
Yep. And just all that shit. Like, Kaiser Reinhard's a great leader. Yeah. Maybe democracy is the bad guy because we're taking down, a good government.
Yeah, and kind of Yang basically just saying, like, at the end of the day, like, I know democracy's not coming back in my lifetime. Like, I've accepted that. But, like, I truly hope that maybe, just maybe, I'll put up a decent enough fight that democracy as an ideal, can at least survive in some form in Reinhard's future.
But also that terrible rationale to justify bloodshed in the present by citing potential danger in the future.
Yes. Like, right, it's just another one of those, like, Yang coming to terms with, like, all of, like, the multifaceted aspects of his character that, like, both motivate but also torment him. You know, so typical Yang stuff.
Yeah. Basically wants to preserve democracy in such a way that, sure, Reinhard can continue his good work while he's still doing good work, but once he stops doing good work, democracy can rise again and take the reins.
Right. Like, this idea, like, I mean, it's a thing that we've said time and time in this podcast, that, like, Reinhard does good work, but there's no guarantee Reinhard will always do good work. We have to remember he's less than a decade into his rule. He's less than 5 years into his rule.
Less than 2 years into his rule.
Like, we don't know what Reinhard the Kaiser looks like in 10 years, or 20, or 30. Like, remember, he is ruler for life. And, like, we don't know if he's always going to remain the good ruler. And even if he does, we don't know if the ruler that comes after him is going to remain the good ruler. And that is why Yang believes democracy must be sustained. Because, like, eventually, this benevolent autocratic rule is going to falter. And the people need to be able to seek an alternative.
Yeah.
And it's like, the idea that Yang is laying down his life for such a distant ideal is, like, I don't know, man. It's just so deeply tragic to me. It's so, like this idea that he's not even dying to save, like, any, like, existing tangible nation. Like, at best, maybe he earns some concessions for El Facil.
Right.
But, like, realistically, at best...
Yeah. He wants to make things easier for people who live 100 years from now.
Yeah, like, people who, like, might not even know him. Like, might only read of him in a history book.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it really speaks to kind of the man he is, and I think why we have all, like, so, like, thoroughly fallen in love with him.
Yeah. And the narrator says this is an important realization for Julian, that he understands that Yang Wenli, this, like, unshakable pillar for him that he's followed for so long, doesn't have all the answers, and worries about all of these things as well.
Totally. I mean, again, it's kind of in many ways, I think a long time ago, we had a conversation about how, like, the reason why Yang earns the loyalty of his subjects his subordinates is because of his honesty. And I still think that's true. I still think that Yang, on a level, is more authentic with the people around him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, Reinhard's thing is he constantly has to maintain this facade around all but the people he prizes the most. You know, Anna Rose, Kirky Eyes, now Emil von Sekla, I guess. Like, otherwise, like, Reinhard constantly has to be on, right? He constantly has to maintain the facade. But I think in many ways, I think Yang maintains a facade as well. Like, the facade is a true part of him. Like, you know, the lazy trickster Yang. But I think in many ways, it kind of speaks to the pressures he's also under. Like, you know, he has a reputation of being the perfect tactician, right? The man who always has the answers.
Yeah.
But, like,
we had that scene a few podcasts ago where he's sitting and pretending to nap while everyone else is like, good thing Yang Wenli's here to take us through it. Haha, what a jokester, just napping.
Yeah. Like, but the reality is he's constantly thinking about these kind of things. Like the real him is, like, this very anxious, like, overthinking person who, like, just constantly overanalyzes every word, every thought. But
a man constantly paralyzed by decision who needs to be put in terrible situations because then something's chosen for him, at least.
Yes. But finally, the narrator says that this would be the last time Julian and Yang ever talked through the night.
Yep.
And
narrator continues to have no chill.
Why would you do this to me, narrator? Speaking of things I wish, why would this show do to me? We go back to the Earth Cult.
Yes.
Because the Earth Cult, as you might remember, has freed Andrew Fork.
Yes.
And they tell Andrew Fork that Yang plans on selling out the FPA to Reinhard, that Yang is actually an enemy of democracy, that Andrew Fork is the last one standing between democracy, and that Andrew Fork, you have to kill Yang Wenli. Save democracy.
Fucking...
And I hate this. I hate this. I swear to God, if this is actually what happens to Yang Wenli, I will fucking jump out a window. I will fucking...
busted Andrew Fork out of prison because we just needed a man crazy enough to rush Yang Wenli with a knife.
Like I want to believe that Yang, or at least if not Yang, then the people around Yang are smart enough to not ever let Andrew Fork get within even like 10 miles of Iserlohn itself.
Right.
But like, you know...
Fuck, Dachu still have Yang's sidearm.
You know, I think he does. I wonder if that'll come into play someday. But we'll see how good of a shot Bagdashu is, I guess. But yes, the Earth Cult basically, or de Villiers basically comments that, like,
you see, man, I'm actually doing a good thing, because otherwise Andrew Fork's name would have just disappeared in history. But
he comments that
if he kills Yang Wenli, then he gets to go down in history as the man who killed Yang Wenli.
Yes, he states that great men like Reinhard and Yang, regardless of whether they died early or not, would be remembered as great men. But people like Andrew Fork, who don't have the skills, who don't have the means, and don't have the personality or the willpower to achieve such things, then this assassination is an easy way for them to be remembered in history. And, you know, I mean, he's not wrong. You know, there's a reason why, you know, almost any American can name, you know, fucking, you know, Booth or Oswald, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep. And so Dusty submits the third draft of their response to Admiral Bittenfeld.
Yes.
The first draft was too vulgar. The second draft was too violent. So here's the third draft, which is literally like, hey, Admiral Bittenfeld, you keep fucking up. You suck. You're weak. He's
just roasting the shit out of Bittenfeld. Like this specific line is, to the esteemed Admiral Bittenfeld, whose rank rises with every growing failure. Like,
yeah,
and like fucking, I think is it Shenkop? It's like Shenkop was like, the grammar's wrong on this part. Like, this is not proper prose. And Dusty admits, you know, like Bittenfeld's too fucking stupid to understand good prose, so this is perfect. And Yang is like, Dusty, I love what you're trying here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Bittenfeld's dumb enough to fall for this.
They're all kind of like arguing whether the plan's gonna work, basically.
And then we finally hear for the first time in a while Merkat. Merkat is like, if you'll allow me, as somebody who is a former Empire admiral, I can tell you a thing or two about overzealous Imperial admirals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bittenfeld actually might be dumb enough to fall for this. And if we're lucky, we could take out Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit's fleets before Reinhard even gets here.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
worth the shot.
All of a sudden, we have suddenly very much evened up the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And Merkat also states, which is a little sneaky, but also technically not illegal in warfare. Merkat says, if we sortie our fleet so that they arrive right after Bittenfeld has received the message, because like we don't want to give Bittenfeld time to think it over, right? If Bittenfeld gets that message, there might be officers in Bittenfeld's like ship that are rational enough to be like, if they're put their arms around Bittenfeld, like hold him back, and be like, "No, Bittenfeld, don't fall for it." But
if someone's coming at you, like they're gonna have to counterattack.
Right. If Bittenfeld gets that letter and then gets the announcement, SPA fleet incoming, like Bittenfeld will probably take the bait. And because Bittenfeld takes the bait, Fahrenheit will have to follow because he can't afford to let Bittenfeld get isolated. And then all of a sudden, again, like, it's not, again, he still has to contend with, Mecklinger, Wallen, Mittermeier, Reinhard.
Eisenach.
He still has to deal with the rest of the fucking galaxy, but it evens up things just a little bit. And also might send a psychological attack message through the rest of Reinhardt's fleet. Yep. They're like, hey, you guys are not immortal. I'm motherfucking Yang Wenli, and
magician, source of disease.
I am the magician. You would do well to fear my power. And the episode ends with Dusty sending that message to Bittenfeld.
Right. They yep, send it, and narrator says the Battle of the Corridor is about to begin.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. I can't handle it. It's so good. Like I they somehow keep coming up with all these great plans to just as Dusty putting it, to beat the Empire with foppery and whim.
Indeed.
Just constantly clown on them in the greatest ways imaginable. And yes, I'm very excited for what's to come. As much as I am equally anxious about what is to come.
Yeah, entering the climax of season 3. Like,
yeah, we're getting there.
And a bit less than 10 episodes left.
Yeah. We are truly getting into it. But yeah, I think with all of that said, I think that's going to be a podcast. You know, I think we're going to close up here. Iro, do you have any closing thoughts about these 3 episodes?
I mean, of course, I'm curious to see how the battle goes coming up, but yeah. I wonder, like, every time I feel like I know where the show's going, they pull some shit out like Andrew Fork.
Yeah,
I cannot fucking believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the strongest aspects of Legend of the Galactic Heroes is its ability to constantly, like, you know, upend and escalate the status quo.
Yeah.
You know, like, nothing ever, like, stays in place because people never stay in place. And I think that it's a principle the show has a really keen understanding of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like you. I'm very curious about where things go from here. I am, because I wonder if this is going to be the last of the things Yang does in the lead up to the Iserlohn battle. I wonder if there might be other things Yang tries to do to kind of slowly balance the things, balance the scales in his favor.
Right?
Because as it is now, it is very hard for me to imagine how Yang could win this fight. But again, if Yang takes out Bittenfeld, if he takes out Fahrenheit, I agree. I'm not sure. I don't believe he's going to win this fight, but I wonder how close this fight might get because of what Yang does, if that makes sense. You know? Like, say he does manage to take Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit off the board. Let's say maybe he does something to Mecklinger on the other side. All of a sudden, like, sure, like, Yang is still at a distinct disadvantage, but, like, things get a little murkier.
What miracle will Miracle Yang pull out of his hat?
Exactly. And I think with that, I think we're going to get into the housekeeping. I'm going to do this quick because we have a lot to get through. So as always, you can read and listen to all of our content on theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can listen to this podcast on Podbeam, Spotify, wherever else podcasts are stored. You can also listen to the podcast on YouTube. You can watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It is streaming on High Dive and VRV. Please consider listening to our sister podcasts, the GLORIO Chat, where we talk about currently airing anime. I think our most recent one, we are talking about this kind of upcoming season of anime, kind of our first thoughts on what's come out so far. Also, feel free to listen to our GLORIO Euro correspondence, GLORIO's King of the Kaiju. I think a new episode of that is supposed to be coming out soon. And and also listen to our our soon to be closing, soon to be ending, but we still got a few left in the can. Our Neon Genesis Event GLORIO, our Neon Genesis Evangelion kind of recap and reactions podcast. And I think now, with all of that said, I think that takes care of everything. So as always, thank you all so much for listening. Iro, as always, thank you for accompanying me on this journey.
Thank you. Viva Democracy.
Yes, Die Kaiser. And until next time, we will see you amongst the sea of stars.